Hi Sam, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Let me just take my phone out of this. Keeps beeping every five
Yeah,
minutes.
I see you getting it together.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right.
All right, so let's get right into it. Um,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
First of all, how you feeling today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Uh, with everything that's going on between the news and paying the bills and
Oh
you
yeah,
know getting everything together. And actually, one of the highlights for the day for me is actually doing this podcast. So I'm really
nice,
excited about that. So, I've been looking forward to doing something like this for a while. So, thanks for having me, and shout out to Tropical Fete for
nice,
having me
nice.
aboard.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna start the interview with you you introducing yourself and letting everyone know who you are. So you can start there.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm Samuel Archer. I grew up in the village of Bethany, Mount Pleasant, Tobago. I hail from that area. And I guess as we go along, folks would know more. However, I'm a musician and a songwriter, composer, and someone that got into production and recording and things of that nature. So that's pretty much the the,
Marketer.
the ballpark of who I am. And oh, I did some teaching here and there.
Okay,
And,
okay, nice. Um, yeah, let's talk about a little bit about Bethany and let us know a little bit about what you experienced in Bethany as a kid.
well, Bethany is like was my village. The village where I grew up in, and it's I don't want to say it's like any other village. I don't think any place is just like any other place. But
Me.
you had your I'm a '70s kid, pretty
Okay.
much. So you not everyone had light at the time. We had what you call
It was rough.
pitch oil. Well, to some people it'd be rough. To me, it was a way of life.
Life was still good for you, right?
We, we had the petrol lamp. We had big on for the mosquitoes.
Oh wow.
We understood what fry bake was and saltfish and tea in the morning and tea in the evening.
Okay.
I remember being oiled down, going to school in the morning. You just looking shine. Very very shiny. And growing up in my village was beautiful. We had all. I had friends, um, and then we did a lot of fun things. Some stuff we got licks for, and some stuff we got praised for. So
Uh,
it was a little bit of everything
okay.
at the time, and we made very good use of the fruits that were in season as well. You know,
Nice.
so
Nice.
that was sort of like my background.
Okay. Okay. Um, Reading your book, I noticed you said you got your piano at 5 years old. Can you tell us what that was like as a 5 year old getting a piano
Yeah.
instrument?
So around the age of 5, my dad he had gotten this piano. It was an Emerson acoustic piano. It was like an upright, but not a tall upright. It was sort of like a halfway, upright. And I remember starting to play the keys, and so you're a 5-year-old, you're inquisitive, and you're touching and you feeling your way around in life.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was an easy way to say that. And I started playing things like the scale.
Okay.
I grew up in a musical family,
Um,
so I was able to play certain things that I identified melodically, and I think that day I made a connection with
did you
music.
play by ear or? Did you have a book to work on?
This was by ear. This was initially it was an ear thing. You know,
Nice.
it was just finding, you know, where I can find my way around. It wasn't a perfect find your way around, but let's say I remember the melody of a song, I can pick it out.
Right.
You know, so it
Right.
sort of started that way, and eventually, you'd get lessons, and, so no, normally if a parent sees that, hey, he kind of have a little inclination for this thing, he needs to get some lessons, so um, my parents saw enough that they said, we need to invest in him getting
Nice.
some piano lessons.
Nice.
And so my first teacher was in Lowlands, um, Miss Pam, and that's where I got, started understanding the theory side of things.
Right. Right.
Understanding your treble clef, your bass clef, your staff, the names of the notes, the
Um,
values of the
what about
notes.
your friends? How did they look at you? How did they treat you? How did you feel as
Oh,
a 5 year old?
they were cool. They were cool. Well,
It was nice. Nothing
in
big.
in reference to music, um, they didn't really get hip to me doing music until I was probably about maybe 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
So like at 5, although I was doing that, or I started getting lessons, um, it wasn't something that everyone knew.
New.
Like when I went to school, or you're in church, it was just something that I was doing. But I think um, when I started playing like in school,
That's when you got noticed.
um, that's when it was like, oh wow, he has this, he has something. And
Well,
in some aspects, I was like a prodigy to some people. Like, wow, he
be,
can.
being that you mentioned about being 7 years old and then being noticed in your book, you said around 8 years old. That's when you really got to start to play for your school, your
Yeah.
church, and again, I will ask the same question like, what was
How
it
was
like at
that?
8 years old now with your friends?
So
And you said a little.
it was I do remember, it's amazing the things you remember at the age. I remember uh picking out some of the songs from a worship. I went to a Christian elementary school,
Okay,
so we would have songs for worship, or chorus. We call it choruses. And I remember saying one day to myself, let me learn
okay,
these choruses. So I started learning some of the choruses,
nice.
and so we had this thing called Week of Prayer at this. So at this particular week, we'll go up to the church. There was a church nearby, Scarborough SDA Church was nearby to the school. Everything is on the same compound.
Right,
So that week we'll go every day and have a, a, a small church. It's not a long thing, but you go and sing some
gathering.
songs, and maybe there's a reading or something like that. So what was happening? One of my mentors, Mr. Errol Phillips, he um, he started bringing up students from the high school that knew how to play. So
Oh,
they played a couple of the days during the week, and there was this particular day that nobody could come.
ah,
And so that day I spoke
yeah,
to the teacher.
opportunity.
Yeah, and I
Was you
said,
prepared
hey,
for that day? Did you practice enough for that day to be like
uh,
prepared?
well, I mean, I didn't know. I mean,
Okay,
it was sort of like, on the fly kind of thing. So I spoke to the teacher at the time. That was Abraham's, and he said, "You could play the piano." I said, "Yeah, I could play for the song service." He said, "All right, go and play."
oh,
So of course, the kids never knew that I played anything. Um, so we played. They called a song. I played the introduction, and we. But of course, they're shocked So I'm
Nobody
playing by
knew.
myself. And so after the song is finished, they're like, "Oh well, now that we know Sam can play,
You gonna
you
play?
guys gonna sing? Could we start singing now?" And that's how that started.
Okay.
So the day that they missed coming up to the church, it was just an opportunity to connect with and say, I'll play. I could do it. So
Was
and
that
that was
around
it.
the same time you started to do other things like steel pan and the singing and stuff like that while you was 8 years
Um,
old around that time?
so with the steel pan, our local, okay, this is back in my village again in Mount Pleasant. We have a steel orchestra there called Carib Dixieland,
Okay.
and in the late 70s, they had purchased some new pans. The late 70s, early 80s. I'm somewhere around there. So long ago, they purchased some new pans, and so the pans that they had, they donated it to the church.
Nice.
So remember, the village is like a little town, So you have the church, you have people that live here and there. You have the grocery,
Mm-hmm.
which was a co-op at the time. They had something called co-ops, and
Co-op.
I didn't know co-ops. So they were like a franchise. I didn't know that until later on. But you
Yeah.
had, those of you who remember the co-ops, um, not a CORP, but COOPS, like a
Right.
co-op.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh, so there was one. So it was interesting. So you had the pan tent. We call it a pan tent.
Okay.
And then you had the co-op, and then my uncle lived. My uncle house is next to the co-op, and then next to his house is the church.
Oh wow.
So they were all like right, everything was like right
Everything
there.
right there.
So one weekend we came to church and we just saw pans like all over. I mean,
Lined
the
up.
whole thing, like my God. So it was directed by again the same Errol Phillips and another elder by the name of Anderson, but we call him Sporty.
Okay.
And they Sporty, he was born again at that time, but he used
Okay.
to play in Carib Dixieland. So he was one of the main people to help direct the steel orchestra, and so that's how I got a start in playing
Plan.
some band as well.
Okay.
I played the tenor. I played tenor.
Tenor. Nice. Nice.
Don't want me to play tenor now.
A
Yeah.
little practice, then you get back on your.
Yeah, I mean, I have the touch, but as to the how the notes are arranged, um,
A refreshment course.
it was based on the well, later on I found out that it was based on who tuned the pans. So based on the tuner, the pans would be set a certain way.
Oh, okay.
So there were three main tuners in Trinidad and Tobago at the time.
Wow.
So yeah, so very few players knew all the different sets.
That's
Yeah. So there was no
standardized.
it wasn't standardized. I think they're standardizing it now, but at the time it wasn't
Right.
standardized. So if you go back in time, like you go back to the Baroque period, when Sebastian Bach and George Frederick Handel, they would be playing this thing called the harpsichord.
Okay.
This was before the piano,
Right.
and the harpsichord it wasn't standardized either.
Mm.
So you had, it wasn't
Different.
arranged. Yeah, it wasn't arranged diatonically.
Right.
So certain songs were in certain keys, and that was it. You couldn't transpose, or you couldn't do pitch and tonics and things of that nature. So the pan, if being that it's not standardized, it's sort of like the same thing. So they'll have the notes arranged differently.
Wow, that's
Uh,
interesting. I never knew that.
yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so this is why they will. I think in the last 10 years, it was becoming an issue because pans are very combustive to travel with.
Right.
If you're going to play and
They-
you're doing a
a
tour,
lot.
you taking all this stuff with you. So
Like
folks were
us.
like, well, why don't we have a standardized thing, and then there can be pans in that part of the world, and we set it up how you
Ah,
want it. Like if a keyboardist is going somewhere, he's not going to travel
you
with a
don't
piano.
travel. Right.
If they say, well, bring
Right.
a piano, well, you bring a piano or bring a Rhodes. So it's sort of like the same idea.
Okay.
And yeah, so but some, I mean, there's some guys that either setting they can pick it up and
And
run
play
with
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
couple of guys like that.
I've definitely seen some guys. They look like they know what they doing.
But put it this way, I've seen a couple of Labor Day celebrations in New York. I knew there were people who would come for Labor Day from Trinidad,
In Trinidad.
and they'll help all the bands.
Right. They need a real
All the,
professional.
yeah, they'll just change the T-shirt and go up and play. Come down, change another T-shirt, play with another band. That's when you're really good. When you're
Nice.
really good, and there's a couple of guys that they're on that level that they can they can really they crack shot like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to your childhood, what happened at 14? What changed when you was 14 years old in your life? I read that you was playing in hotels at this time, and you was
Hmm.
also playing with bands. Like, how did that affect,
Yeah.
change your whole life?
Well, I wouldn't say it was life changing, but it was sort of like the next. It was the next level of experience to me. Uh, Hotels, Tobago is primarily tourism
Tourism. Yeah.
type of setup,
Hmm.
and we had a couple of hotels that would employ musicians, and we didn't have. We had keyboard players around, but not much.
Okay.
So I was part of a small group of people that could play,
Nice.
and I I think one of the other things I was also good with playing um, bass lines
Okay.
on the piano.
Right.
Piano is my instrument.
Yeah.
Um, so I can actually play calypso bass lines
Oh,
and
nice.
reggae bass lines. If
Nice.
you listen to the reggae music, especially reggae from the '70s, it was bass driven.
Drum and
You know,
bass.
yeah, it was like a bass driven
Yeah.
type of a music, and your right hand you'd be strumming on the right, and you say.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So not
That's all you need,
everyone
and then
that
that's
played
it.
could play it.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to play that and still come in and strum with the right hand. It was just confusing for a lot of people to do that.
Yeah.
Um, Calypso was a little more advanced in terms of rhythmically what you were doing, because now
Melodies.
it's faster,
It's
and you're
faster.
going towards the
Yeah.
so that's your left hand doing all of that.
And then the other
Yeah, you
one.
know what I mean? And you're chording on the right. So
Right.
it's the same science. It's one
More
was
hectic.
faster and then one was you're moving with the dominant.
More.
Dominant is on the third in a 4/4 thing.
Okay.
So that's how reggae is.
Yeah.
So one is more laid back, reggae, and then the calypso is
Hype.
is more a little more aggressive, but it's the same science when you're doing both hands. So having that capability, not everyone had that capability at the time.
Right.
I mean, there were still really excellent musicians around. It's just that you know that was something that bands would like to have. They'd like to have someone like that. If they didn't have a bass player, then
They could
the
substitute.
keyboard person can substitute and
Right.
play the bass line. And then
Yeah.
if there's a bass player, then I can play main keys. And if there's another synth or something, that would be maybe to play some horns or something else. So it varied what. So when you can do that, you're very
It's a plus.
valuable.
Yeah.
So it made
Okay.
me valuable to a lot of the situations in Tobago at the time. And I
Nice.
think that was, seeing people respond to it. So a lot of my musical peers, it was a favorite favorite there. And when you see tourists enjoying the music, that's another, you know,
Plus, yeah.
good signal to know that, okay, I'm
You're
onto
gonna get
something.
called again. You get the second call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
we have one. We had a hotel called Crown Reef. It doesn't exist. I think they changed the name now. So it was Crown Reef. There was Total Beach Hotel. There was Mount Irvin Hotel, and then another one called Carriwack. So there was a couple of them around at the time that
were you the youngest in the group? Were you the youngest in the group?
most of the times, yeah,
Yeah, I
most
could
of the
imagine.
times, the
Did they
older.
treat you like a little brother, or did they push you around? Did they
Nah, they looked out. They looked out. That was
yeah,
it. Wasn't I mean, I had those experiences, but in different situations. I would say that would probably be in school or
right,
in church. You have someone hit you a club now and then,
right,
or but when I started doing, it was more of a professional environment.
good. That's
So
good.
the older ones would be, hey, all right, this is when
You
they're
gotta look
leading,
out for him.
these are the songs. This is where we're gonna go, and so it was more of a professional environment, and it was just musicians respecting each other
That's good.
in that moment. Yeah.
Um, at that time, at 14 years old, experiencing what you experiencing, what was your future thoughts like into the future going forward, and how did you see yourself in the future musically? You know?
One of the things I wanted to do at that time was to really work on originals, and because I was composing pieces, it was weird. I'm doing all these covers, and I'm composing pieces, and I was trying to figure out how would I get to expose my originals,
Nice
because we were just doing covers. You go to the
covers.
hotel, you're playing top 40 music. Um, I was involved with a couple of groups. They were playing either songs from the Chuck Wagon Gang, or a lot of country gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then we would play a lot of American
The stuff
gospel.
that's popular, right?
Right, stuff on the radio. So we had people like music from Sandy Patty or Evie, or Lionel Harris, or um, uh, uh, the Imperials, and all these
Did
different.
did you get to play one of your originals at that age? Did you ever get to play one of your originals?
Not earlier. Well, I'll say around 16, 17, I started a group.
Okay.
In high school, I had myself, two other. Well, actually, well, that's a whole other book. But it involved, it was Ian Chance. It was a classmate of mine. Alan Charles.
Okay.
So Ian played bass. Alan played drums. Andre Sylvester, he played guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what we would do is we played for assembly in school,
Nice.
assembly and chapel, and
Mm-hmm.
so we weren't really like a group yet. So after a while, I started really getting into writing. Like, a lot of my stuff was, I would say, you know, I was really inspired in my teenage. Like, so I
Okay.
have like a lot of songs I wrote there that I probably
Bethany.
forgot how they go by now. But at that point, I really wanted to see how these songs would come out. And funny enough, when we put the group together, we still had to do covers.
Yeah. At
I
the
wasn't
cover.
getting
Well, sometimes that's what pays the bills.
I wasn't getting away from the covers, so we were doing. I remember well, we were doing a song called, well, not just one song. There were a couple of songs off of a record, Denise Williams record. Denise
Okay.
Williams had a gospel record that she did back in the 80s. Um, and it was really a popular gospel record. So we learned a lot of those songs off of
Nice.
that. And so there was one time though, we did a concert in Charlottesville, Tobago. That's the northern part of Tobago. That's like the last village in the northern area. And they had a concert up there and they invited the group. And we had two young ladies that sang lead for us at the time, Luann James and Sonia Nancis.
Okay.
She's now Sonia Whitlock. And they couldn't make that weekend. So we had already booked it. And I think that, the same way I seized the moment in when I was
The
in elementary
piano.
school to play, right? I seized the moment with the guys. I said, all right, guys, we're going to do 2 originals when we go to Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And, they were a little scared about it. One was a reggae and one was, it was like two songs that we did. And we tore the place. We tore
I'm
it.
sure.
It was done.
I'm sure.
It was done. It was, because is it, when you do that with songs, especially if they don't know the songs, and these people
Right.
did songs from, and the audience connected to it, and I think that might have been the point when the guys were like, "Wow, they,
We got some.
we have something here with
Yeah.
originals."
Nice.
And I remember like a couple of weeks later, I'm in town and someone actually sang a hook. It was like
I
you
know that
walking in
makes you feel
town,
good.
it's like Sting Marshall walk in town and say powder. So it was sort of like the same thing. You're walking down the road and someone says the song was Jacob's Ladder.
Okay.
So there's a part where we say we're climbing up, so you hear someone say, "I'm climbing up," and then you're like, "Oh yeah, you were in Charlottesville, huh? Oh yeah,
He talking to you.
yeah." So that was good. That was like that one moment when we did that thing, and then I think that opened up the eyes of the guys, who was like, "Yo, I think," and it was sort of like reassuring to me as a writer.
Right.
you know.
I know
But
you.
but imagine the environment where you're doing a lot of covers because you're in the Caribbean. Folks aren't really sure how they'll relate to you doing originals. So
Yeah.
you got to do
Something they
something
like.
that's happening at the time. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's sort of like how it was. And then you come in with originals like, well, nobody knows that. Why are you gonna sing that?
Okay.
But a cover was original at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And your
Yeah.
original could become a cover.
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah.
But everyone gets stuck in the end, So
All right. We talked a little bit about your childhood time. I want to get into a little bit about what you're doing now.
Okay.
You have the Music Log,
Music
the
log, okay.
entertainment and music publication.
Mhm.
Can you tell us what it is and just explain a little bit about why you created it?
Okay. So Music log was really a class project while I attended Full Sail University. I was working on a music business degree there, and my introduction to marketing, we all had to do a blog as the assignment. One of the assignments was doing a blog. And while I went to, so I'm going to jump back a few years. While I went to New York City Technical College in Brooklyn, which was about 20 years before that, right? So, because I went to Full Sail in 2010, and I was at Tech between like 89 and 90.
Okay.
So that's what, 20 years or 30? How long is that?
Roughly 89, 90. We got 2010, that's 20.
20 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to push my age too much. My bad. So we had a paper at at New York City Tech called Tech Time News, and I would do I did the music review at the
Okay.
time
Nice.
for a few of the editions that
Mm-hmm.
they had put out. And I had another friend, Richard White. He's a bass player, by the way, and he was working at another paper in Clinton Hills in Brooklyn. That's like near the Bed-Stuy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
between Bed-Stuy and what is that, East New York,
Um.
around there.
Yeah.
Or
Maybe up
Crown Heights. It's like
front.
between
Yeah.
Crown Heights, Bed-Stuy, and that area right there. It was called the Big Apple After 5 News,
Okay.
and I would do the music
Reviews.
articles there. It was weird because he brought me there one day. Richard brought me to the paper, but he was going to do, help them with the pressing and all that. But that's his forte is graphic design and printing and that sort of
Okay.
thing. So I'm at the paper, and he tells the editor, "Well, this is Sam." And then she said, "Okay, what does Sam do?" He's like, "Well, he writes for the Tech Time at Tech. What does he write about? He writes about music." And and then she had a pile of now remember, this is we're talking 90
Right.
91. So she had a pile of vinyl, but they were in green envelopes,
Mm.
and these padded green envelopes came from Profile Records, the label,
Wow.
Profile, hip hop
Mm-hmm.
label.
Mm-hmm.
She had a whole pile in the corner, and she said, "Well, take these
Wow.
and take them home and write some stuff for her because we need a music editor." So I started there.
Wow.
So fast forward to when I did this introduction to marketing at Full Sail, and
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Hey, do the instructor had us do this assignment to do a blog."
For a blog.
Um, it sort of awoke that writer in me again, in terms of
Nice.
just writing articles and so on.
Nice.
Um, and then I say, no, I'm going to keep this going because when I put music out, it was really tough to find people to cover your music, or I mean to write about it and do.
Right.
I'll probably get one or two, but then that's like the most I will get. So I said, you know what? Let me have one so
And
that when I'm doing something,
you can add it.
I have a avenue that
Okay.
I can put out, but I did it where I opened it up to different artists.
Do you
So
do music reviews on music blog?
yeah. Well,
Okay.
not a full music, not like a review, like I reviewed the album, but it
Right.
would be more of if an artist is coming out with a record, and they send out a press release. Some of
Okay.
them may want to do an interview like what we're doing tonight, so
Right.
we'll do an interview, and then I'll do like a little write up, and then put it on the
I'm glad.
post.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that was my next question. Um, I happened to catch an interview with Matthew Knowles, PhD, on
Okay.
his book that he released, and it was a good interview. I wanted to know you going from from interviewing someone to being interviewed about your book,
Hmm.
um, the hybrid executive, the new terminology and responsibility of today indie artists.
Hmm.
Um, with all the nation's unrest and with the racial tension right now that we facing, in your book, I wanted to know if you touched upon that kind of subject, any type of racial
Well,
issue.
okay, so in my book is more of I really zone in on the music industry
Okay.
on there. However, in terms of our climate right now in terms of Black Lives Matter marching around, and we have riots, and definitely shout out to the young people that's leading the charge right now. I did a little bit back in in the early '90s, but I always had to do with tuition hike
Okay.
with the CUNY colleges. All the
Right.
CUNY colleges we
Education.
had. Yes, we had tuition hike in the early '90s, and
Yeah.
we all were protesting and
Protest.
marching
You
over
have to. You have.
Brooklyn Bridge, and you were around that time. Or that's
I remember. I remember.
you remember. You remember? Okay, so
I was
I
a
was
little
involved with that
younger
one.
in school, but I didn't have to fight for the tuition. I was more
Okay.
younger, so
Okay,
but I
well,
remember it.
we were trying to keep the tuition, at a certain level. And believe it or not, the person who was running New York at the time was Perry Cuomo.
Oh, okay.
He's the father of.
The father of Cuomo.
There you go.
Wow.
See how life goes around. But
Yeah,
my interaction dealing with police brutality and and race was not really connected much into my music dealings.
that's good.
Although it exists in the music
Right, right.
realm, I didn't have like a direct situation where someone actually, maybe they did. But I don't know if they
You probably
if it was done.
overlooked it. Yeah,
Yeah,
didn't affect you, right?
But I did. I mean, living in Brooklyn, I definitely ran into the guys who owned the night a couple times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on average, um, and I had a way I would deal with them. I just didn't answer them at all. I would just look at you like I talk some other language, you know. Um, but yeah, there was but they would try to incite. They would try. I
Right,
mean,
right.
and more than once. But I think living in Brooklyn, um, at the time, you kind of got used to it.
Yeah,
It was sort of like a way of life, It's like, oh,
yeah.
and they'll come
You know
through with
that's
all
how
these.
it is.
Yeah,
It's sad.
they'll be they're not in uniform. So these are the undercover ones, or the ones that's in plain clothes,
Detectives.
and they'll just have the thing around their neck,
Yeah.
and they'll be just driving around like they're looking to get into some kind of trouble with someone.
The
And
bad.
I lived in Fort Greene,
Oh yeah.
so it was, you just couldn't help but run into these guys ever so often.
Yeah.
You know, um, one time I would I was going home, but you'd call a taxi to pick you up, and they stopped us.
Before you would call a taxi. Now you order it on your
Or you
phone.
order, yeah, well, yeah, back then. So so this particular time, and it happened like about, this experience I'm going to give you happened at least 3 times. So
Wow.
you call a taxi, and this particular time we got pulled over at Bedford and Atlantic Avenue, going downtown,
Downtown, heart of Brooklyn.
and they pull over this taxi. I'm in the back, and they didn't ask any questions. They just pulled me out of the back of the car,
And search.
searched me. Um, I had a little package with some CDs and stuff in it. I mean, the only thing they didn't do is check how much hair I have under my arms.
Wow.
Um, and then they pulled out the seat, the back seat in the car. They pulled out the seat like they probably
So
thought I
you
might have
hiding
stuck
something.
a gun or something under there. I was like, what do these guys think it is?
Yeah.
And then the guy talking to me, he couldn't even talk English properly. I'm like, I think, what are these guys doing here? Like, he sounds like he needs to be in Europe somewhere, and he's an officer in
And
plain clothes
can't
in
talk
Brooklyn,
English. Yeah.
like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Really? So, I did have a couple of run-ins with them, but not in the music world. Like,
That's
I
good though.
dealt with different labels and production companies and things of that nature, and I didn't really have to deal with um, someone doing anything where they were biased or it was a prejudice type thing. Um, with Matthew Knowles, Dr. Matthew Knowles, that's Beyonce's dad.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was an honor to interview him. That was his second book, actually. He had a book. His first book was DNA of Achievers, the DNA of successful people,
Right.
and which is another really good book
Good book.
that's there. This one is where he ventured
His
into
family.
his life. You know,
Right.
growing up in
I
the
caught the
South.
interview. It was really good. It was
Yeah,
really
oh,
good.
thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
definitely.
Yeah, I think it's one of it's in my one of the top interviews that I really did. Not because it's him, but it was really it was a really great
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Very
Good dialogue. And you know, the thing is that you opened up a dialogue that we facing today, and that is the
mhm.
main, situation right now, and it's causing a lot of uproar. So you was already had the insight of creating that dialogue from early, you know. So
Yeah, well, like what you're doing, I had to do was to ask good questions, and sort of ask questions that would motivate the interviewee to flow.
right, right,
So it was sort of like the same thing where you ask questions that and then of course I'm sort of like the person. I like to stick with um, when I do interviews. I like to stick with the topic at hand. Around the time we did that interview, he had some other things in the news going on. Um, I'm not that kind of interviewer, you know, but
keep it
other
quick
folks
subject.
would tap into that stuff,
Yeah,
and that's their style.
right,
I like to stick with okay, this he's releasing a book. Let's talk about the book. Let's
right.
talk about writing the book, the inspiration for the book, and just kept it, there. And I think that's probably one of the things that he also appreciated about it. Now, he didn't say to me, well, you can't ask me about this or you can't ask me about that.
Okay,
But when he shared stuff about his daughters in the interview. I didn't ask him, well,
right.
what it's like being the
You didn't
father of
pry. You
Beyonce.
didn't prying. Right, right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
So
So,
if he felt comfortable to share, which
then
he did, so it was welcomed in the interview. But I didn't like pry into like
his
to get
life, personal
to
stuff.
right. So that, but I'm just saying that's how I approach it. Other journalists would they want to get the saucy stuff out of it.
Well,
But I thought it was a really good inspirational interview, and a lot of people checked it out and they got back to me and say, hey, you know what, that interview with Matthew Knowles was really really great.
yeah,
So I got a lot of good reviews from that. So I'm happy you liked it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right before we get into the book, I want to ask you one more question about your other business,
Uh-huh.
samdigital.net, and can you just talk about like what is it, what you do, what you offer, and
Okay.
thank you.
All right. So samsdigital.net is the marketing arm of what I do. So I was telling my daughter the other day, all I really wanted to do was sit by the piano and write some songs. That's really what my dream thing. I wanted to be in a nice living room with a nice grand piano, with some paper and a pen, and I'm there just composing. And I had to create. If you really look at my whole career so far on the musical end, I had to create everything to propel it. And one of the things so the Musilog is the publication
Right,
side of things, and Sam's Digital was a result of my degree now. Now that I have the music business degree, um, what am I going to do? So at the time, the economy was bad. Um, our Republican friends, um, they had the dollars, and we had Obama in office, and they were giving him a hard time. You know,
oh yeah,
uh, so I graduated in 2012. and it was really bad. The economy was really, really. I mean, it got better,
Yeah.
but
He had
which
just
actually
survived.
which
He just
actually the guy
survived
is enjoying. When he came into office, he enjoyed the fact that someone did the work to get
to get it
the
right, to get it
economy.
at least stable.
Well, yeah, and the unemployment rate for African Americans or for blacks was actually on its way down by the time
Hmm.
he got into office.
Hmm.
So of course he's in office enjoying the fact that the employment for the black community is down,
Yeah.
and thinking that, well, it's his fiscal year that
He did
so we had to let him know, well, no, yours is going to come
it the next year,
the next year. this
and then
is
Corona
from
hit.
this is from the previous administration. um but anyway, back to what we're doing. So SAMS Digital, it really stands for Samuel Archer Marketing Services.
Okay.
Because I just kind of knew SAMS and then digital. Now digital, because around that time you had different types of marketing. Um, Companies that would hire people like myself, I would need to use the word digital in there. Not as a rule, but instead of them calling you and ask you, "Do you do digital marketing?" I just put it in the name. So it was just
Right.
like a strategy. So you just
Right.
said, "Okay, digital." When you call me, you already know that
No. Right.
we do the virtual type of marketing.
Okay.
And when you understand marketing is the top umbrella. So you have marketing, and then below marketing you have three main areas, and the three main areas is publicity, promotion, and advertising.
And advertisement.
Right. So those are the three subgroups under the term marketing. Of course, before I got my degree, I would mix these terms up because I said, "Yeah, you got to do
Market.
promotion.
Yeah, everything is
Oh
the
yeah, you
same.
need this." So, but oh yeah, you need to market this. You need to market that. And it's like so I was using the language, but in a wrong way in some aspects.
And the service is different too. Each service
Right,
is a little
right.
different.
So I'm more in the publicity side of things
Okay.
for Sam's Digital. It's more on the publicity side, so it's not really. I mean, I can handle advertising. If someone wants to do advertising, I can oversee that for the client. If they need to do promotions, I can oversee that. But then, if they want to say, "Hey, you know what? I want to market a particular product," I can handle the publicity
Publicity.
aspect or the PR aspect of it. And so that's really the forte of Sam's Digital. But we also do things like biography development. We
Okay.
do feasibility studies.
I see you have consultation over there. Consultant.
Yes, consulting. We do consulting, desktop publishing, websites. If someone, if your client is a website,
What
uh,
about videos?
and video editing. Yes, we do some video
Video
editing.
editing.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's some of the things. So now, when I have something I'm going to release, I have the Musilog, and then I have
Right.
the Sam's Digital that we can do the marketing. Because they're two different things.
Yeah.
They're two
Totally.
separate things,
Yeah.
but they
But
work
they
hand
work
in hand.
hand in hand. They work
Yes,
hand in hand. Right.
yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Okay. Now that we know a little bit about your life and what you've accomplished,
Yeah, you
let's
should
get
know a lot about
let's get into this book because
Yeah, yeah, the
that's
Handbook
where the topic
Executive.
get hot.
That's right.
Oh
That's
yeah.
right.
Can you just put it up? I want to see the cover. Um, One of my main first question. Before I get into my first question, can we talk about the design of that cover,
Okay, so
which is
the same
very,
the
I love
same
it.
guy the same guy that took me to the paper, Richard White. that I spoke about earlier.
Uh-huh.
So he did the design for this. He did the graphic design.
Okay.
The record, this part of it, I mean, I fell in love with it when I see it. Now he didn't create this. We actually licensed this.
Okay.
Yeah, this was licensed. The
Nice.
record with the city and all of that. But he did a couple of samples for me.
Okay.
And when I saw this, I said, this looks like me right here. I literally said, yeah, this. I saw it. I was like, I just picked it out, and I said, this looks like what this book needs. And but Richard did the whole, from in terms of the graphic
The cover.
design and the layout and all of that.
Nice.
That was the work of Richard White. Um, So yes, but it's a dope design, right? With the record
Oh
and the
yeah.
city. Yeah, it gives that
That
that executive feeling. Yeah.
on the cover, one of the main things you see is the record, that design with the city. But the second
Mm-hmm.
thing you see is hybrid executive.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just talk about just those two words for a sec?
Yeah. So hybrid is sort of like the next thing, as we evolve. You have old English, and then you have new English. You have in the Caribbean, you also have English being broken up, and it's broken up again, and every
Mm-hmm.
generation that comes brings its spin
Well,
on it.
dialogue.
And this book, the title has a lot to do with the moving from the traditional role of the artist to the new role of the artist. So
Ah,
now that artist has evolved
so hybrid.
to a hybrid. There you go. To a hybrid. So when the artist would, try to get a record deal and shop some songs, and um, let's say they got the record deal, they'll go and they'll produce the record, and then they'll just give the mixes to the record company,
And they
um,
do it
and then the record company takes it from there. Right
now.
now, today the artist, now you're gonna say, right? You gotta
It's
write the
different
song,
today,
you
right?
gotta record it, you gotta produce it, mix it, you gotta go do your pictures, you gotta go, make sure you have your website, make sure you have your social media stuff together, make sure you setting up certain things. You gotta get, if you're gonna have a manager or a team, you gotta put your team together. So you're doing everything that the label would have done for you. So now an artist of today is a hybrid executive by default. So that's really what the title is about. Hybrid executive is today's independent or indie artist. And let me say this: I forgot that term indie. So this term indie has two meanings.
Yeah,
Um, Someone would see indie and think we're talking about music from East
in
India,
yeah,
because that's what indie meant as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
However, the new meaning of indie is short for independent.
Okay,
So
okay.
we don't want
You
folks
know,
to get confused.
I had to clear that up for someone because when I said the name of your book, they was like indie, and I'm like, yeah, independent artists, and they was like, oh, okay. So you're right.
Yeah,
You know,
yes, that's true. And when I
yeah,
went home, I went to the school that I was teaching at one point, and then when I said indie, or I
again,
used the term indie, they were like, "Well, why are you doing East Indian music or talking about it?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know what? No, I had to like, no, it's indie meaning short for independent."
independent.
All right, so we just want the viewers to know that we're talking about independence, or the short name for independence, opposed to East Indian music,
In your book, you
which is
said,
a nice music, by the way.
oh yeah, oh definitely. In your
Yes.
book, you mentioned the quote. I've heard the quote. I just want you to just touch it a little. Um,
Hmm.
Gone are the days when the artist can just be an artist, right?
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
just spoke on it a little, but I thought that quote was really cool because I've heard it before, and
Uh,
just to hear it circulate is some truth to it.
yes, yes, yes. You know, I think it was a profound way to get the book like really jump in. It would you need something to grab, and books that start that way in some kind of way remains relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And you might read a book from the 1800s, and they're like, yo, the end is like literally look like the end is
Oh,
going to be tomorrow, and we're like how many years later and we feel like the end is tomorrow.
I get
So it's sort of like a title like, yeah, going to the days that the artist could just, today you gotta pick it up, you gotta get your game up, you gotta like really, roll your sleeves up and get into your passion. If you're passionate about this and you have life, go for it.
yeah. You gotta mutate into that hybrid executive.
Yeah.
You're not already, into it. But
Yes.
yeah. Um, moving a little more in detail. You talk about different terminologies.
Hmm.
Um, that artists use today, that the music industry use today. What's a producer? What's an arranger? And you touched upon a few things that we're going to talk about, but I wanted to ask specifically about copyrights. Um,
Okay.
when you copyright your song, should you do mechanical copyrights and sound recording rights at the same time, or is it sufficient enough to just do one, or can you just give me a little something about that?
Okay. When you use the term mechanical, um, you're talking about record sales from which would be kind of weird to explain now because we're not doing CDs anymore.
Right,
Mechanical actually came from the physical sales.
right,
So you
right.
had mechanical royalties. So, for example, if you were going to, let's say, you want to get a cover song from I don't know, Bob Marley had a song, and you had to get the permission
Licensing.
to do right, the licensing to do it. Um, One of the questions they will ask you is how many records and CDs and cassettes you're planning to
Well,
manufacture. So
okay,
when you gave them that number, the mechanical royalty was based on the statutory rate of the song, which presently the statutory rate is what? But what's the what's the statutory rate right now?
nah.
Uh,
Um,
let me look real quick. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. uh, statue Statutory rate, not rate now, rate, and it's
like
it's 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 it's
91 cents minus something like that.
no, no.
68 cents.
Hold on, where's uh, statutory rate music? That's what I want. Okay, so basically, what that is, see, they switched it around. It used to be like 9.4 cents
Okay.
um, per song, and that would
Okay.
be the mechanical
Mechanical
royalties.
royalties.
So yeah, so now they have it at they have it here at 9.1 cents for recordings of songs 5 minutes or less.
Right.
But this is a digital download,
Right.
so
Right.
so it's a little bit cheaper. It sort of went down, but traditionally, I think at one point it went to like 10 cents or close to 10 cents. So what
Oh,
it is if you, let's say you were going to get that Bob Marley song licensed to use on your record, you would
mm-hmm.
say, okay, I'm doing 1,000 CDs,
Copy.
I'm doing this amount of vinyl, and I'm doing this amount of cassettes. And now you would have to pay per unit.
Oh,
And that unit you're paying that 9 cents or that
the
whatever,
royalty.
it goes to the publishing company,
Okay.
regardless if you sell it or not. So
Okay.
that's your mechanicals. Um, Copyright, when you said sound recording, now you have two types of copyright. You have there's one called the PA, which is a performing arts.
Performing
As
arts.
if your song is in a if it's a very raw state of the song, like you had a melody and some chords, and you want to protect it, so you use the PA form. And that's
Okay.
how it used to be. The SR form is your sound recording form. This
Right.
is when you went to the studio, you produced it, and now this is what the public is going to hear. That's the SR form
Oh,
that you
so
use. So that's your sound
would you
recording
say that's the mastered version?
copyright that you can.
Is that the mastered version or both are mastered?
Well, whatever is going to be released. Once that fixed medium is released to the public,
That's what you.
that's right.
Check.
That's the sound recording.
Okay.
That's that version of the copyright.
A copy.
What some people do, because you're spending to pay it twice if you do it as a PA first. Now, PA is like if you're not planning to work on it right away, but you want to protect it,
Oh, okay.
you know.
The
But let's
SR.
say you're doing the album now and it's going to be out in a couple of months. It doesn't make sense to do the PA.
Oh,
Just do the SR because it's expensive to copyright now. There's some other terms now because I'm giving you the old term, but now you can do certain things online, and these forms. It's the same form. It's the same.
it's the same form.
It's the same understanding. It's just that the
It's still
forms are
SR
given.
form. It's still SR form and the
Mhm.
PA form.
Yeah, but there's an electronic.
Oh yeah, it's electronic system
Electronic
now.
version of it now.
Yeah.
So, but it means the same thing, so to speak. So
Okay.
based on what you're doing, then you pick the appropriate status for the copyright.
I want to ask you just as your opinion or what your preference is.
Mhm.
Artists usually sign to PROs. ASCAP, BMI, there's a few of them. I just wanted to ask you what was a good PRO in your opinion, and as far as
Okay.
what you.
So there are three main ones, and I will say in the last 4 years, there's a lot of new companies that are offering the same service, which they're what you call performing rights organization or performing rights societies. So what it is really, they would survey the radio stations and the networks and the internet via sound exchange, which is sort of like the internet version of that. Um, there's to say what's the best one. They all have, they all do the same thing.
Okay.
So it has to do with if you're looking for like a specific bonus or benefit
Okay.
from it. So you'd have to see what CSAC
What they're okay.
is one of them, see what their guidelines are, and see if CSAC is a company for you, or you can see if BMI is a company for you, which is the other one, and then you see if ASCAP is the one for you.
Would you say
I
that?
joined with ASCAP. I'm sorry.
Would you say that they all pretty good? It doesn't really matter which one you go with,
Well,
unless you're looking for that.
I've heard writers have um,
ASCAP.
Well, no, no. Well, I'm just saying. I've heard writers with a favorite, like you know what they would ASCAP or they would BMI, and then they prefer BMI, and then you had those who went to ASCAP and say, you know, I prefer ASCAP, and
Okay.
then I heard some writers are like, I would forget ASCAP and BMI, I'm with CSAC,
Oh, okay.
you know. So
Right. So it's your
I've heard all
prerogative.
types of, but it comes down to again what you're looking for. I mean, they do the same things, but they might be different. You know, there might be different situations within each performing rights society. Maybe services they provide or
Right.
situations they would. So, for example, I remember ASCAP would do workshops, or
Okay.
they'll do
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
like a monthly lecture thing. You know, so people liked that about ASCAP, right? But did it change how they would survey and get your money? And it didn't really change. It was just the same thing, you know. And then some people like BMI for certain things, or certain types of writers were in BMI, so it made sense to join BMI because they wanted to maybe collaborate with maybe a baby face, or you know, there's a writer that you like that's in that company, so there's a chance you could, you know, if they create a situation where they, you know, this person is looking to collab or that person is looking to do a collaboration, so some of them create that that situation. So it comes down to what, you know, which one works for you, what, you know, what benefits you can get,
What you
you know,
looking
out of it.
for?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I see in the book you asked certain questions
Mhm.
for for the artist to ponder,
Yes, yes.
and it
So
was
so
one
my book.
question. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna get into one question just to
Oh,
talk
you
about
okay? All right.
who is your direct competition? You asked, and this is in the section where you talk about the marketing and you
Hmm.
know you gave a little bit about the fuzziness that you have to clear up.
Yes, yes. So okay, you're in two different areas, but I got you. Okay, so in terms of your direct competition, um, that comes when you're doing what we call a SWOT analysis. So let's say, you know, you're getting ready to put your record out, and you need to take a look at the landscape in the market to see, you know. So now what you're going to do is you take all your preferences away, you take all your likes and what have you, and now you want to look at the data. Now you want to look at, you're a detective looking at the evidence.
Okay.
So what it is, you're looking at your strengths, you're looking at your weakness, you're looking at the trends of the market, and you're looking at the opportunities that's available. And that's what your SWOT analysis is. So looking at your direct competition, let's say that you're the person that is in the industry, or the artist that's in the industry that is very, very close to what you provide. And it might be you're close in sound. You know, maybe you're a male R&B artist, or
Hmm.
you're a male reggae artist, or you're a male dancehall artist, or you're a male soca artist. You know, so within that scope, or within that industry, which one of these artists do you sound the closest to?
Mm.
So that would be your direct competition. And what you try to do is find at least three of the three people in that category that you're really close to. Because what you're trying to do is see if you can get part of that audience to like what you're bringing.
Okay.
So let's say you had a voice close to Luther Vandross, right? And you have a kind of Luther Vandross style. So the people who like Luther Vandross would more than likely like you. So you'd have Luther, and then you'll find another voice um, that was close to Luther, like maybe like a Will Downing, and then you'd get like a David Pearson or somebody like that, and say, okay, well, the people who like these would be my direct competition.
Okay.
And the trick, right, and the trick is to see if you can get maybe 2 to 5% of their market.
Their market.
So now you would go to maybe their Facebook page or their Twitter page and say, hey, if you like Luther, you might like this.
Right.
Or if
Right.
you and then you share that link, you know.
Okay.
So that's what you're working with a direct competition. And then part of the survey would also be, okay, if these artists didn't exist, who are some of the artists that people are buying that's going to buy what you have,
Relevant.
right? So then
Right.
that's the indirect competition. So you have
Wow.
the direct, you have the
And
indirect, and then now you're like, okay, what's the age group? You know, what's the
demographics.
demographic of what? You're learning. There you go.
It's a
What's the
lot of
demographic?
matrix.
Yeah, yeah. And then
It's
what's
a
the
lot.
geographic? And so so you study that. Now sometimes it can take you about maybe 2 or 3 weeks to put up what we're talking about right here. You know, I mean, it's a quick thing,
Right.
but when you're actually doing it, it could take you like close to a month to
Longer.
to to
To
get all
be
that
thorough
data,
with it, right?
put
To
it
be
together.
in depth with it, right?
Oh yeah, you got to go in depth. So actually, it's called a feasibility study.
Okay.
Yes, it's called a feasibility. It's sort of like the feasibility study is like about, let's say, 60 to 70% of a business plan.
Hmm.
So like if you're doing a business plan, that would be like the meat
That can
of
make or break you. The better you do it,
yeah, because yeah, you study the market.
market. Yeah. Yeah.
And most successful people in the industry, they don't do a hit and miss thing. They actually sit down and piece
Plan.
it out.
Man.
Yeah. And I'm trying to get some of my folks who release records to do that. I'm waiting on them to hire me to do a feasibility study for them.
I don't think they understand the importance of that part. Um,
True, true, true. It's a new. I wouldn't say it's new. It's sort of like it's an unusual process for many people. They'll spend a lot of time on the music, spend a lot of time on preparing the music, and then it's out, and then they're ready to like all right, let's run with it. And although that's something nice to do, it doesn't give you the best results,
right.
depending on who you are. If you're up and coming, it's
You
different. If you're a Jay-Z, or
you good.
you're on that level, DJ Khaled or somebody,
Right.
that would work.
Right.
Let's just release. But if you're new, then it's a tough thing. Why would someone want to check out your music?
Right.
You got to find the people that's looking for the music that you have to offer. So now, so that was that side. That's your direct competition. And what was the other side of the question you went to?
The fuzziness. You
Okay, so the
spoke about
fuzziness,
clearing the fuzziness.
right? So clearing the fuzziness. Um, I've been in situations where, in early up, when I started hanging out in these major studios, you're just so excited to be there. So business is not really part of, you don't want to talk about business. And it feels kind of bad to even bring it up, like, but uh, clearing the fuzziness has to do with making sure that if you're going to be creating in the studio, that everything is laid out. Okay, and you have that discussion.
Business.
What are we doing? Do we need to have a split sheet? Do I need, who's doing what? Who's producing? Who are the musicians? Who's arranging? Who's writing? And you lay it out. Or even if you don't lay it out as a group, you get that information for yourself. And today, because you have these devices
Oh yeah.
today, oh, I didn't know that was on there like that.
Everything is in your palm of your hand now.
Yeah, you can actually record the session and even say into the recording part, I'm writing this with so and so, or we're collaborating, and this is the producer of the project, and this is the date, and da da da, and the time,
Yeah.
and this is where we are, and that you lay it out, and that's how you clear your fuzziness up, because remember you're working on your pension plan as an artist. Your pension plan is what you seriously put together. Um, my school did Full Sail just did they just did uh, they did a Zoom with a writer. Let me just see what the lady's name is again. Tammy Latrell. She's a Grammy nominated writer.
Grammy nominee.
And so I was checking out her Zoom, and she was given an experience. Um, Turns out that she was signed to an independent label, and she took care of business while she was there. And there was a song that she wrote, and things weren't working out at the label, so she moved on.
Okay.
However, the label had the rights to shop the material
Mm.
anyway. So they shopped the material, and one of the songs ended up on Whitney Houston's record.
Oh wow.
So she gets a call from her mom. She says, "Hey, your song is playing on the radio."
Mm.
So she turns the radio on, and Whitney Houston is singing this particular song.
Wow.
Now, I don't think she told us what the song was in the presentation, but the thing was, she took care of her copyright. So she reached out to the record company,
Everything was good.
and they had us sit down. And she said when she pulled out the copyright paper, the executive was singing a different tune. So, right? So I'm just saying, you got to take care of it. But could you imagine if she didn't take care of her business?
It would have been over.
It would
Lost.
have it would have just been a story.
Yep. It would have been a
You
story.
see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so she took care of business.
Wow.
And that's something that I took away from her presentation on the Zoom. Like, wow, that's
And
something good
that's
to.
important because a lot of kids nowadays they are using other people's material and they create songs. They're recording over it. They're releasing it on platforms. They're not worrying about getting flagged, but in a situation where something goes well, then you lose out a lot. So it's a good story that you make sure you handle your paperwork and the fuzziness early because in
Mhm.
time when a situation do arise, you protect it.
Yeah, well, now remember too, if someone is going to go at you, it's costing them money to go at you. So they'll wait.
Court,
They'll wait
lawyer,
until if something happens. So, for example, Tammy took care of her copyright, not knowing that the label that she
you
was
couldn't do
working
that.
for would have been shopping the songs. They didn't tell her, "Oh, we're going to shop your song."
Right.
Um, so she took care of business, and it 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 ended up on an album, and they had to take care of the young lady. You know.
Um, we're about to wrap up the interview, but I wanted to ask you, what can you tell indie artists about your book and what you want them to take away with this interview, what you want them to know about your book, and what you
Mhm.
want them to walk away about this interview if they get the chance to see it and hear it.
So the hybrid executive really works here. It's really about what's happening here. You win here before you win outwardly. So I'm not telling you how to write a song or how to produce a record. Those things you can get on YouTube and all these how to mix using Waves plugins and Fruit Loops and Reason and all Garage Band and what
The
have you.
videos for
You know,
that.
everyone is doing that. Um, but where I focus on what inspires the passion, which is really the strategy where things begin. You know, what inspires someone to use the tools that we're using and create something? Remember, all the producers and all the music, we're using the same things. We're using the
Yeah,
guitar, we're using the drums and the
yeah.
piano and the samples, and we're using the same thing. So what's the difference between you using the tools and I'm using the tool? It comes from what is inspiring you.
Mm,
You know, it's coming from, all right, this I'm feeling right now is making me, it's inspiring me to do a piece of music this way. And then now, because you understood the connection, you create this thing. You
right.
create this piece of music, or you create this thing, and then now you send it to maybe a songwriter. And the songwriter feels the energy and the chords and the strings, and you're using the same tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going in the kitchen, and if his grandma who used to cook back in the day with the coconut milk and the seasoning and and the shadow benny and stuff, you just knew that the food was just going to be much fire, and then you put someone else in there and they don't know what to do. Same tools. It's the same rice, it's the
Same
same
kitchen, yeah.
peas, it's the same chicken, it's the same onion, and.
Well, one thing I like that you did, um, you ask questions to the artist so that they can reflect internally.
Yes,
It
yes,
one question you ask, do you think you could sing? Or, do you think you could sing to save your life? But
yeah, yeah.
those kind of questions were really good for me to hear because
Mhm.
sometimes as an artist, when you are creative and you're in your creative mode, you think you could do everything. And
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes you need that voice to say, "Hey, stop. Just think about it. Are you sure this is what you want?" Or
yeah,
and
yeah,
you gave a good amount of insight on how to just get everything laid out and plan it out. So whoever do read your book, I think that they will get a chance to reflect one internally, gather their thoughts,
yeah.
and give enough information so that they can lay out their thoughts in a strategic way. Can I say? You know, um, like I told you, I read the book. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna keep it close to me.
Yes,
Pick
yes.
it up.
Thanks for the support. Yes, definitely.
Sometimes, every time I read a book, a second time or third time, I always learn something that I didn't learn the first
That
time
you
I
didn't
read
catch
it.
before. Yes, yeah.
So when I find a good book, I read it, and it's all right. If I didn't get all of it, I'm gonna read it again, and I'm gonna keep
Right.
reading it until I really like get the whole, master what you're saying. Because
And that's what we have to do. And there are books that I've read in the past, like and it's a good book here. I'll say the name of it. It's called Kashif, Everything You Better Know About the Music Business. It's an old book, of course. It's not where we are in technology, but a lot of what he's using in the book, a lot of the concepts, is still relevant
right, right,
today.
and
I refer to that book once in a while. I'm like, yeah, he said something about this. Let me, and then I jump back in and I check it
hmm
out.
hmm
And I think my book is sort of like that. It's where
definitely,
I'm giving you experiences,
yeah.
some experiences that I've been through, and then how things are supposed to run and how how you follow the format. And it's that added um, component that you need to like really help you cement success
Oh
at the
yeah,
end of the time. You know,
oh yeah.
yeah,
But
man.
yeah, man, definitely. It's a pleasure speaking to you, interviewing you.
I
Um,
enjoyed this. This was good. This was definitely good. Thank you. You're welcome.
I I will be telling a few of my friends, you have to get this book. This is a
All right.
must
Yes.
have.
Please do.
It's a
Yes.
must have. But I'm gonna make them see the interview first. That way, they get to see you, they get to hear you, And
Mhm.
I'm sure once they hear what you had to say, they'll be running to buy the book, you know. But
And feel free to ask questions. I have an email there. They go to samsdigital.net. I have
uh-huh.
an area that they can contact me, and they can feel free to shoot a question. Hey, I bought the book. I have a question on this. I have an open question policy, you know, where
Okay.
it's not
I
about.
see
I
you
mean,
have
if there's something major that we got to do a consultation, and that's different.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if it's something, you know, that they just needed clarity on, once I get to that email, I can I'll answer.
you address it.
Yeah, I'll
I see
respond.
you rather get an email because I see you have the number listed on samsdigital.net.
Yeah, folks could call. I mean, if
Okay.
they get, you know, I mean, if they leave a
They get
message
through.
or they call, yeah, yeah. So if I answer and hey, I'm reading your book. What do you mean by this? You know, I'll answer the question. Yeah,
Nice.
I
Nice.
encourage interaction. I'm not in this untouchable glass in the corner that
That's
you
good
know.
because a
I'm
lot
not
of people
Google.
they hard to find, they hard to reach. But
I'm not Google or Facebook. You can't call anyone. Hey, I'm having a problem with this. You know. They're like, yeah, take a ticket, you know.
yeah, basically.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not Google. You know, you can reach out and you know, I'm open to doing other Zooms and so on. You know, if they need someone like myself to come on the Zoom and give
Nice.
some information. You know, I can go more like really detailed into certain things.
Certain
You know,
subjects.
and
Right.
folks and inform folks. Yeah, so. But yeah, but definitely thank you for having me on. Shout out to Tropical Fete.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alton, thanks for remembering me and making me a part of the this process. Authors, Caribbean authors. So I really appreciate this.
All right. Thanks again, Sam. My name is Charles Watts, and you was watching Tropical Fat.
All
You guys have
right,
a nice day.
all right.